Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a bunch of cards using paper that I have in my stash. So I'm big on trying to destash and declutter, but only using, and making cards, but trying to use the stuff that I already have in my stash. I have a ton of paper pads. I'm talking about, I know I at least have like 40 of these 12 by 12 paper pads. And I'm thinking that I'm going to start buying the 6 by 6 paper pads because they're the same exact thing as the 12 by 12s, just in a smaller format. And a lot of times I don't use those super big pages. Like the 12 by 12s are probably for people who scrapbook way more often than I do. And if I want to scrapbook, then I have enough of that. But for me, who just likes to use the papers, and I'm doing more of my bullet journal nowadays, then and also with cards, it's probably just better that I do the 6 by 6. But we'll see. Anyway, Thanksgiving is coming up, and was it Thanksgiving and Christmas and Kwanzaa? All the card making holidays are popping up. So it's got me back in my card making move. And like I said, I'm just using any and everything that I have in my stash. So right now I have this, I think this is from the Vintage English paper, garden. And this die cut that I have right in here, this is something that I've had in my stash for a very long time. I want to say that it's from Memento. It might be Memento, but I just die cut it through my machine, my spell binder, put it up here with some gold paper from my stash. And I actually probably have this gold paper left over from my wedding invitations. So I made my own wedding invitations. I have that gold paper left over, and I'm just going to put it on this card and do a little bit of stamping. So stamping with my black ink and using, I don't even know where this where my stamp press came from. I'm pretty sure I got it from Michael's. But yeah, just gonna do a little bit of black ink with this Art Impressions stamp, and we're gonna make card 1. So this first card and this second card have basically the same setup. I'm just stamping something different on it. So same exact setup, same paper, same gold. I'm just using different stamps that I have in my stash in different colors. This is Altenew ink that I have in these little ink squares, which are really nice to have. Like you can get a lot of different colors when you buy the small ink squares. I mean, I do like the big ink pads, but these squares are really good. They get in where I need them to get in. So I'm just going to do some stamping. I'm probably going to put a sentiment up here, and that'll be card 2. And what I really like about making cards this way is that you can set up a bunch of cards using, you can use that whole 12 by 12 piece of paper and get like 4 or 5 cards out of it, depending on how you cut them up. And this way you don't have to do a bunch of inking, which, if inking is your thing, that's fine. But like, I'm someone who needs to use my paper stash up. And these are 2 really nice thanking of you cards, or just because cards. For the next set of cards, I'm very sure it's the same exact paper or the same exact paper pad. I'm going to use the cup of tea. And I think if you go back to earlier this year, or maybe even early last year, I had just bought this tea stamp set. So shout out to back then. And then, okay, now I'm going to use my Tombow to ink up my stamp. And using your Tombows or any other ink or any other marker that you have, honestly, is a very good way of, if you don't have like a whole ton of like inks, just use your markers to color on the stamp, and it's just the same. Especially if you have a ink stamp tool like this, where you can just stamp the same thing in the same place. You can recolor and re-ink the same stamp however you need to, however many times you need to, and create a good stamp. See? Right now I'm coloring in my sentiment with that same marker, and I'm just going to keep coloring it in until I get the impression as dark as I would like for it to be. Now I do have my VersaFine out, so that I can do my heat embossing. I think I probably just, okay, here we go. Yep, that first one was a mistake. I just used my regular Tombow, thinking that I could put the embossing powder on there and heat it up and it was going to work, and it didn't. So I showed you that it didn't work. Then I went back with my VersaFine or not my VersaFine, I went back up there with my embossing ink and put it in there. So now I'm just going to cut this black piece of paper and I'm going to score it. And I'm just going to start doing my paper layering. Now, I really like glue sticks for doing this. There's a difference between glue sticks and liquid glue and all that. Glue sticks, in my opinion, won't give you the little, like, you won't see the glue underneath the paper where it kind of dampens the paper with liquid glue. Like, with this, you just get it's not necessarily dry, but it spreads it more evenly, so then you don't get those wet glue marks on your paper. So I think glue sticks are my preference. And I think, even I probably prefer those to the glue tape, because with glue tape, like sometimes they just don't stick as well. Now, your mileage may vary, but in my opinion, sometimes that glue tape doesn't stick down as well, although I will use it. Now, anytime you're making a card base or anytime you're making a card front, you're always likely to get some paper hangover. So I'm just going to turn this over and I'm going to cut it so that I don't have a whole lot of hangover. I just wanted like a very, very thin edge to show for that gold gilding. So you see why I placed it like that. Very little bit of gold showing, and I'm just again going back to my paper layering. I got the black layer with the garden layer, a little bit of gold showing in my teacup, and then this embellishment that I made, I'm going to put that right on front and glue it down. So yes, it's a lot of different layers of glue. And what I like about the dye that I use is that it's a nesting dye. So they just layer upon layer upon layer, and you can get whatever you need. And then I'm going to put this string up here. I think this string was just some string I had in my stash back when Awesome Crafts was still doing her boxes. And I got this from her. And then I'm just going to tie this neat little ribbon. Just as soon as I can get this bow the way that I want it to. So I'm going to mold the bow in the shape that I want it to be, and then I'm just going to cut the tails. And I'm going to try and see if I can find something to use those little tails for, but of course, trying to use everything to the last little bit. So now I'm going to move on to the next card. So this is an Altenew die. I had a little bit of trouble getting these out, so you definitely want to poke in the holes that they give you. Next, I'm going to use these stamps from Hero Arts, and I'm going to start coloring these in and stamping them on my paper. So again, like I said, if ever you don't have an ink, or even if you have the ink and you just don't have it nearby, just use a Tombow, use a marker, use if you got a Crayola, I don't know, those probably don't stay wet too long, but any of these watercolor markers or any of these water-based markers aren't going to stay wet but for so long. So don't wait, just go ahead and put them up there. And here I am, I'm going to use my little embossing sock to destatic the paper, and then I'm going to stamp it with my embossing ink with my Versamark, which is extremely hard to find nowadays. I don't know why. Is And then I'm going to use my clear embossing powder, because like that's also a cheat on if you don't have a whole bunch of different color embossing powders. Just use an ink and then use clear embossing ink and stamp right on top of it, and then you can fake having the color that you want. Now I'm going to get my card base. This is some brown paper that I already had in my stash. I'm going to take my card and cut that down to the size. Now, like I said, I'm using paper that I already have. One thing that you notice is that the front of this card base doesn't fold all the way down. If that's a problem for you, then, go get some paper that folds all the way. That wasn't a problem for me. So when you open this card, you're going to see the back of this card front. That didn't bother me. Like, especially because when you open it, you'll be flipping it from the top. So I'm just going to cut off this extra right here. And yep, I'm going to cut off this extra, and I'm going to cut it and just make it even, like, just making it even so that it opens up very well. And that you don't see, when it has that blue at the end, you don't want to see the brown coming. This just makes it a lot more even. All right, now I'm going to move on to my next card. So again, using some of this brown paper that I have already in my stash. Just making those card bases. So I know a lot of people like to use like super duper premium paper for card bases. So they'll use like the 110-pound cover, and it'll be solar white from Nina. Like, that is very good paper. I have some of that. But like, like I said, I'm trying to use up what I already have in my stash, and I wanted to go for a different look. Putting everything on that brilliant white background with these brown, with this craft kind of brown tinted garden paper that I have, just didn't fit, at least not in my mind. I think the brown background goes a little bit better, and then it kind of goes better with this of what I have in my mind, or what my vision is for these cards. So now I'm just going to put down some gold paper that I have, and then I'm going to get ready for my sentiment. Next, I'm going to take out the stamp. So I always wonder where people get these random like texture stamps, and this is something I just happened to find in like a big pack of stamps that I bought from somewhere. Again, it was probably something that I got from a set that I got from Michael's, and they just had like a bunch of like weird like clear stamps in them. It could have been Ranger ink, or like one of those influencers who has her own pack of stuff. Like, I want to say she wasn't a card maker, but I liked some of the stamps that were in there when I bought that set, because I remember buying it. But yeah, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to take this die that I have, put it through my machine, get it out, and it kind of like, I was going for it looking like a tea bag. If you think it looks like a tea bag, let me know down there in the comments. Like, like I said, I want it to look like a tea bag. All the cards that I'm making are like kind of like that tea time, tea for two kind of theme. So here's a little bit of the paper. Here's that string again. I'm gonna tie it through just to give it some effect, give it some layering. I didn't put the gold all the way across because I knew that I was going to put this tag here. So, well, this tag / tea bag here. So, I don't know. Like I said, let me know what you think. If it looks like a tea bag or not. Or if it just looks like a tag. And here I am again, forever wrestling with this string, trying to get a nice little bow in there. But the bow matches the paper perfectly, like it's flawless. Now I'm going to use my destacking tool, and this is just, I want to say, a stocking that I use myself with some cornstarch. Yes, taking it back to the day out here. But so I destatic that area. I am going to do some heat embossing. So whenever you do heat embossing, you want to make sure that you don't get any strays by doing this little destacking tool, and then put your ink up there, then put your embossing powder up there. So I am using gold from Recollections, and I'm going to put this back into the little tube. I use this paintbrush to knock off all the extra stuff, and I just stamp directly onto that color, or directly into that paper. Now we're off to the next card. The next card, I already got the card base. This is another piece of paper that I cut. Instead of using the glue stick, I did use the glue tape just so I can see what the difference was. I think I was still experimenting with that. because the glue is right there. But this was another piece of, the brown part was another piece of paper. It kind of looks like the silhouette of the side silhouette or side profile of a woman, and how they used to do that kind of shadow photography back in the day. And I'm just going to color this sentiment in with my Tombow, and this is going to go across my card. And what I like about this with destashing is that it gives you a bunch of little cards that you can use for any reason. You're using up your stash and you're getting creative, because you're not buying stuff to be creative with. You are using what you already have and you're making that work. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the rush of buying something new or getting one of the new sets that are coming out from Altenew or Hero Arts. I love doing that, but this gives me a different kind of opportunity to be creative. Yep, I'm just gonna use this glue. I think I got rid of this glue after this because it was not working out for me. I think I just had it sitting around for too long. And I'm trying to do these little these dimensional stars up there, which you'll see in a second. And as this last card wraps up, I just wanted to take it a second to thank you for watching my channel. If you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe. I'll see you next time with either a bullet journal video or a crafting video. So again, I'll see y'all next time. Bye.